After all is said and done, we need to export our work. Let's go through the different options that we have for this. The Render Queue, Clip Notes, Export for Flash, and others are a breeze in After Effects. Let's deliver what the client needs. After we are done with our work, we need to be able to export it. And to do that, we use the Render Queue most of the time. Let's go ahead and import a file in here. Double-click an empty space here in the project panel. Go ahead and navigate to your Chapter 13 folder and choose doggy.mov. And let's place this into the new comp icon. There you go. And this is the little doggy that we created before. Let's go ahead and export this. With the timeline selected, just go Composition, Add to Render Queue. And notice that the comp name is going to be already input in there. Let's go ahead and go over some of these settings. The first thing that we're going to go over is the render settings. There's a drop-down menu here. You can choose Best Settings, Current, Draft, DV, etc., etc. Let's go ahead and click on the Best Settings words to open the Render Settings panel. Quality, Best, Draft a Wireframe, that is self-explanatory. If you're doing a final export, then Best is literally your best bet. Resolution full or half or a quarter, or whatever resolution you have your composition set right now. The size is the size of the composition, in this case 720 by 480. You can choose to use proxies or not. A proxy is a low-resolution representation of the final file that you're going to be using. We usually use proxies to speed up the RAM preview. Effects, solo switches, guide layers, and color depth are all self-explanatory. You can choose to have frame blending or not for the checked layers. And of course, you can choose to render fields or not. Same with motion blur. The time span means are we going to use the entire composition or just the work area? Frame rate is also self-explanatory. We're going to use the native frame rate, which is 29.97. Go ahead and click OK. If you changed any of these settings, you can go ahead and create a template of these. All you have to do is click on Make Template, name it whatever you wish. I'm just going to call it New Template. And click OK. Now the new template will appear in your drop-down menu. That is true with any of these drop-down menus. They all have the Make Template option. Go ahead and click Cancel. Let's go ahead and talk about the Output module. Click on the word Lossless, and here it is. You can change the format in which you're going to export this. Video for Windows, H.264, JPEG sequence, etc., etc. In this case, let's go ahead and choose a QuickTime movie. You can include the project link, and you can include source XMP metadata. After it's done rendering, you can perform any of these actions automatically. You can import and replace, and you can also set a proxy. You can change the settings of the output of the video. You can choose to render just RGB channels or just the alpha channel, or both the RGB and the alpha. You can click on Format Options, and you can choose in here the codec. Some codecs will support the alpha channel, some will not. The animation codec, for example, will support the alpha channel if you choose Millions of Colors Plus. If you want to export the alpha channel and you don't see Millions of Colors with that little plus sign at the end of it, you will not be exporting the alpha channel. And it would be very sad to render something for hours only to find out that the transparency is not there. So always double check that Millions of Colors Plus appears in here. You can choose straight alpha or pre-multiplied alpha. In many cases, like for example, if you're going to an Avid system, you're going to prefer to choose the straight. It defaults to pre-multiplied, so make sure that you double check this. You can stretch the image. That's self-explanatory. You can also crop it. That's also self-explanatory. And you can choose to export audio or not. This particular clip does not have audio, but if it did, you could choose to export it. You could change the frequencies, etc., etc. Let's deselect it and click OK. Output 2. This is the name that you're going to choose to output your particular composition. It could be the composition name, the composition and the module output name, project, etc., etc. These are all self-explanatory. You can also add other output modules. So, if you need to render something more than once, say once as an AVI and once as a QuickTime, you can do so in just one swoop. Let's go ahead and delete this. I'm going to go ahead and click on the word doggy.mov. And now Output Movie 2 dialog box appears. This is where you tell After Effects where you want for it to save it. Let's go ahead and click on Cancel. If we were to render this, go ahead and click on the word Render on this button here, and it would just go through the entire composition and render it out, in this case as a QuickTime movie for you.